Good evening, everybody, and a warm welcome to another edition of, I think, is one of the brightest, smartest, most innovative quizzes out there. Welcome to the Smarty Pantz Trivial Quiz. My name's Sean Wallace. I'm your host. I've teamed up with some of the best quiz writers in the world to bring you what's going to be a fun, exciting quiz for the next hour and a half. As you know, hopefully you would have downloaded all the answer sheets from the Smarty Pantz trivial page, but if you didn't, simply just get a pen and paper. But if you did manage to actually download it, all you simply have to do is to actually write in the topics, which are going to be tonight's topics, and whatever topic you like, just simply choose a joker, and that will double your points for the round. So let's look at what the quiz is all about tonight. As you can see, round one is going to be Make the Connection. Round two is going to be TV and cinema. Round three is geography. Round four is yay and nay. And as you know, in between rounds 4 and 5, we have what's known as a wipeout round. All that simply is, as you can see, we're going to be asking you a question, and all you've got to do is to give all the correct answers. But once you give a wrong answer, you'll simply be wiped out, and your scores will count right up until the points you give the wrong answer. So if you're not sure, all you simply do is put your correct answers first, the ones you're certain about, and not so certain towards the end. Round 5 is on food and drink. Round 6 is potluck. Round 7, as you can see, is Jack and Jill. And the final round to round up for tonight's quiz is going to be on art and literature. So please, make sure that we have a wonderful time tonight. I'm sure you are going to have a great time tonight with the quiz itself. So without further ado, let's move straight on. Let's go to round one of the tonight's quiz. As you can see, the curtain always opens. That's courtesy of Mr. Producer, who's with me today. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. Mike's obviously here to actually help me set things up to make sure that everything's working properly. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think the quiz could go ahead. My other wonderful producer, Mr. Producer, tonight is actually off work, but at some point throughout the quiz, you'll get to know my two right-hand men, because they are fantastic, and they just simply help make the quiz what it is today. So let's move swiftly on to round number one. As I say, make the connection. All you've got to simply do is to find a word which connects the images which you see there. So as you can see there, image number one, is that a face that you recognize in relation to the two extreme people you can see? What's image number two? But we're looking for the word which links those images. Okay, moving on to image number two. Image number two. What's that? What word links image number two, as we can see there? Here we go, image number three. 1, 2, 3. Have a look at those images there. What one single word links all those three images? Moving on to image number 4. Okay, have a look, have a study. What word links those images? Image number 5. Image number 5. So let's have a look at image number 6 there. What are those people there doing? What word links those two images? And as I say, if you played your joker, you can play your joker on any of the rounds, but you can only play your joker once. But if you do decide to play your joker on one of those favourable subjects tonight, you will double your points for the round. Number 7. So what word links those four images? Do you recognize these people? If you do, then it will help you get to the right answer so far as the word we're looking for to give you the correct point. Number 8. Let's look at number 8 as all the images come into view. So what images links, or what word links those three images which you see there? Number 9, there's a familiar face to people who live in the United Kingdom, but what word links those group of people and the image which you see on the right? And finally, number 10. Number 10. Oh, that looks absolutely delicious. I wish I had a bowl of ice cream or at least custard. Don't you, Michael? I love that, mate. I tell you. Oh, it looks absolutely scrumptious. But so we're looking for the word which links those images. So that's the end of round 1. How did you find those images? If you found it fairly straightforward, then more power to your elbow. That's the whole point of this wonderful interactive quiz. We want people to have a great time, have a wonderful time in so doing. Okay, so let's now move our attention. Let's go back. Sorry. Moving back. Let's now move our attention to the trivial teaser round. Now, what does this round involve? This round involves us setting at the end of each round a trivial teaser. And if you manage to actually get it, you'll get a full complement of 10 points. But if you don't, just simply have a guess. But we'll be giving you a much more easier clue at the end of each round until it becomes so blatantly obvious that you must get it. But if it's so obvious, then the points will actually go down to 1. So as you can see, that's how it works. The quicker you get it, the more points you get. The clues do get easier as you go. You get one guess for every round, so don't write a multiple of guesses. Just write one guess in relation to the clue, and write your answer at the bottom of your answer sheet. If you manage to actually download the Smarty Pantz Facebook answer sheets, then all well and good. If you haven't, just simply grab the pen and paper. So let's see how this works. Let's look at the first clue, and this is 10 points for clue number 1 as it unfolds. What am I? Native to Eurasia since ancient times, I was once grown by the Romans, but was not introduced into the United States until the 19th century. I was so esteemed by the Romans that the Emperor Tiberius accepted me as part of the tribute payable to Rome by Germany. This was partly due to them believing that I was an aphrodisiac. And these are my seeds. So you can see the seeds there at the bottom left hand of the trivia teaser. So have a look at that. Look at some of the words there, because this clue isn't the easiest clue in the world. So take some of the words from the clues which may help you. And if you do manage to actually get the answer correctly, you will score the requisite 10 points. So that's how it is. Hopefully you would have found it fairly straightforward in relation to that. Let's now move to the answers. Let's now move to the answers so far as round number 1, making the connection. And that was a buffet, as you can see there. Jimmy Warren and a way of eating food. As you can see there, the first image, Warren Buffett, once the world's most richest man, known as the Sage of Omaha. Omaha being one of the major cities in the US state of Nebraska. And you can see there towards the final image, the buffet, buffet, it's still the same way of producing the same answer. So the answer there is Buffett. Number 2, that is moccasin. As you can see, a snake or a type of shoe. So the word which we're looking, which links those two images for question number 2, was a moccasin. Did you get that? I'm sure you did. If you managed to play your joker, all well and good. Number 3, Troy. That was the movie. The first image which you saw in the question was Eric Bana, who played Hector in the film. As you can see, that's Brad Pitt, who played Achilles. A measuring weight of gold, Troyes, comes from the city in northeastern France called Troyes. And the final image is Troy van Schreibner, who's the Channel 4's The Magician. So that's the correct answer in relation to that. At number 4, Wilson. That was the word which linked those three images. Wilson Kipsang, the long distance runner. Wilson, the tennis racket. I think the W would have given it away. But Wilson, played by the wonderfully gifted actor Tom Hanks, as you know, the last person to win an Oscar in 2 successive years. So Wilson is the correct answer there. Hannah, that's the wonderfully gifted John Hannah, the Scottish actor, and Hannah and her Sisters, one of my favourite films, directed by Woody Allen in the late 80s, starring Mia Farrow and Michael Caine, who actually won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in that film. Number 6, that's a salsa. Yeah, yes, I suppose that was fairly straight obvious. I've got 2 left hands and 2 right feet, so as I say, my moves in relation to a salsa, it's not that thing. No, weren't impressed with that? Okay, people, Michael was not impressed with that, as I say. He's laughing inanely there in relation to that particular image. Let's go swiftly on to image number 7. As I say, Mia, that's Mia Wasikowska, the actress Mia Hamm, who was the World Cup winning centre forward for the United States in the late 90s. Mamma Mia, as you can see there, that was obviously Meryl Streep. And Mia Farrow again, who originally made her name in Peyton Place. She was once actually married to Frank Sinatra. Did you know that?
Didn't know that.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
That's good.
Yep, thank you. We give a lot of information on this particular show and this quiz. That's where which you learn, I suppose. That's where I learned. Chicago, Chicago. That's the band there, Chicago, featuring the once lead singer of Chicago, Peter Cetera. The city of Chicago, which actually takes its name for the from the North American word Chicago, which means wild garlic. See, again, you're learning, aren't you? I'm sure you got it right anyway. And as you can see, the 2002 film, which won Catherine Zeta-Jones the Best Supporting Actress Oscar, playing Velma Kelly in the film directed by Rob Reiner. I think that actually won the Best Picture, actually. Number 9, yes, that's the Cabinet. As you can see, that's the Tory UK government cabinet. Seated next to Mr. Johnson is the Cabinet Secretary, Sir Mark Sedwill, who sadly has been ousted from his job after doing a fantastic job. Will be leaving his post in September, and it's rumoured that the main person arguing for Britain in the Brexit negotiations, David Frost will be taking his place, and obviously that's a piece of cabinet furniture. And finally, a cobbler. That's an American dessert. Oh, look at that. That looks absolutely scrumptious. I think it's making my lips water. I could do with that now. It'd be some ice cream or indeed custard. And a cobbler or a cordwainer, which is another archaic name for a person who makes shoes. So that's the end of that round. How did you do? Did you find that quiz or that particular round fairly straightforward? Hopefully you did. And if you played your joker, hopefully you would have doubled your points for that particular round. So let's move swiftly on now to round number 2. Round number 2 is all on TV and cinema. Is this a round where you want to play your joker? If you do, this is your only opportunity, because remember, you can only play your joker once throughout the entirety of the quiz. Question number 1. So let's move on to this particular round. What director earned the wrath of comic fans in 2020 after referring to Marvel films as theme parks and, quote, not cinema? That's a bit disingenuous, isn't it? So what director are we talking about here? Number 2, Correctamundo was the catchphrase made famous by which TV character? Do you remember it? Number 3. Do you recognise those 2 people? Here's the quote. Question. We met on the set of what film? So those people are clearly recognisable. You know who they are. But do you know what film they met on, which led to their relationship? Number 4. Here it is, coming into view. This is an image from which 2013 film? Do you recognise the actors there? Well, what 2013 film are we talking about here? Number 5. Which film character has morphed himself into Osama bin Laden here? Number 6. This is the former owner and operator of the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park. It is in which US state? Do you recognize that particular person? If you do, and you know that person's name, fairly prominent in 2020, his face was fairly recognizable. But we're looking for the US state in which the Wynwood Exotic Animal Park is situated. Number 7. This takes me back, but it's not about me. It's about you. Answer this particular question, which is this. What TV show was based on the books of Laura Ingalls Wilder? Do you remember that? Brings me back, that does. That's nice. Question number 8. These are characters from what British sketch TV show? Question number 9. Released in 2009, Salvation was a subtitle to the 4th film in which franchise? And finally, question number 10. Do you recognize that person? If you do, here's a question. I have how many children? 3, 4, or 5? 3, 4, or 5. So that's the end of round 2, TV and cinema. How did you find those questions? This is a really good, exciting way of actually bringing quizzes to people who love to quiz, no matter what time of the day. Seeing the actual questions on screen with the images, which may help you solve the clues. So if you found that a fairly interesting quiz, put it on the comments page. Let us know how you think. Let us know how you think the Smarty Pantz Trivial Quiz is going in week 2. And let's now move our attention and turn our attention quickly now to the trivia. Now, as I say, if you didn't manage to actually answer the question correctly, have another go, because this will make it much more easier now as we go to clue number 2. But as you can see, the points are reduced by 1 point, and it will be in the end reduced at the end of each round if you don't get the clues straight off, until it becomes so obvious that you've just got to get it. So let's look at the question again. I'm going to read it to you, leave it on screen for a while so you can actually take out the various bits of clues which will help you to actually work out what the correct answer is. So you can see, question number 2, in the 19th century, before the sugar industry took off, I was used as a sweetener, similar to golden syrup. In 1859, a new cultivar called Student was developed at England's Royal Agricultural College. It was so tasty that it quickly became the variety of choice. I feature in the title of this chap's autobiography. So if you know who that person is on the right hand of the screen, then he figures, or the person, place, or thing figures in the title of that person's autobiography. If you know that person, you know the autobiography, then it's going to make it easier for you now to actually get the answer correct. Okay, so how was that? Is that going to help you in relation to answering that particular question? If it does, then you're going to get the answer correct. So let's move swiftly now to the answers to the TV and cinema. Let's see how we got on in relation to the answers. What director earned the wrath of comic fans in 2020 after referring to Marvel films as the theme parks and not cinema? That is Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese, obviously not a fan of Marvel films. I certainly am. His last film, The Irishman, was nominated for multi awards at the Oscar ceremony in 2020, and it won precisely none. They tried to use computer graphic imaging to make the principal actors look young, and I don't know whether or not people liked it, but I didn't. Question number 2. Correctamundo was a catchphrase made famous by which TV character? Of course, the Fonz, Arthur Fonzarelli, played by the brilliant Henry Winkler on Happy Days, which had loads of spin-offs. Remember Joni Loves Chachi? That was another spin-off. Mork and Mindy, which introduced the world to the brilliant comic genius that is Robin Williams. But Correctamundo by Hey the Fonz, as you know, was set in Milwaukee in Wisconsin. Number 3, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, that's who it was, in happier times, met on the set of what film? And that was Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was the film in question, 2005 film. Led to a wonderful, and it's a shame that the relationship ended in acrimony, but I think they're talking now, which is good. Number 4, this is an image from which 2013 film? That is Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg. So that can only be Two Guns. Two Guns, as you can see there. Mark Wahlberg at once was Hollywood's highest paid actor. And he had his own rap group. I think it was called Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. He used to also model underwear, as I understand it. But that's that, really. Number 5, which film character has morphed himself into Osama bin Laden here? And that is Napoleon Dynamite, played by John Heder in the 2004 film about a 16-year-old awkward teenager. Napoleon Dynamite. Number 6, Joe Exotic, that's who it was. Is the former owner and operator of the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park. It is in which U.S. state? And that is the state of Oklahoma. A little fact about Oklahoma, apart from being a musical with an exclamation mark after its name, it only became a U.S. state in the 20th century, 1907 to be precise. Number 7, what TV show is based on the books of Laura Ingalls Wilder? As you can see there, that's Monica Landon, who used to be Little Joe in Bonanza. Remember Bonanza in the 60s? As I say, most of you are not as old as me, but I do. And that is obviously The Little House on the Prairie, written by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I used to love Little House on the Prairie. Do you remember the Waltons? I used to love the Waltons as well. I know, I'm sick. Number 8. These characters are from which British sketch TV show? The really, really, really funny Far Show. That's Paul Whitehouse there. Really, I used to love the Far Show. Number 9, released in 2009. Salvation was the subtitle to the 4th film in which franchise? And that is The Terminator, starting way back with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but there we see Christian Bale in the title role in that particular film. And finally, number 10, that's Bruce Willis. His real name is actually Walter Bruce Willis, actually born in Germany. Not a lot of people know that. But that's not the question we're asking. The question we're asking, how many children does he have? He has 5 from 2 different wives. And that's the Happy Family. I love Bruce Willis. Brilliant actor. He's superb as in Pulp Fiction, and it was even better in the Die Hard series. So that's the end of round 2. How do we do in relation to the TV and cinema? Fairly straightforward, I think. But I can see from the comments that people are really liking the quiz, which is really, really good. Just looking at my producer there, he's giving me the thumbs up. He seems to like the way in which it's being presented, which is good. So it's all good. So let's move swiftly on, I think, to round number 3, which is on geography. How are we doing in geography? Well, let's find out with question 1 of round 3, geography. Question number 1. Vendredi is Friday in which language? Let's start off with a nice little gentle opener. Vendredi is Friday in which language? Question number 2. What is this country, the largest to lie wholly within Europe? So take a look there. Really big. Number 3. If you drilled a hole from Bogota directly through the center of the earth, which other capital city would you pop up nearest? Is it A, Copenhagen, B, Jakarta, or C, Tunis? Number 4. Do you know your motorways? Well, what motorway is highlighted here in dark blue? Number 5. In which landlocked country of 10.6 million people is the historic Budvar Brewery? Do you like a little tipple? I'm teetotal myself, but do you know where the Budvar Brewery is? If you do, then you'll know the country we're talking about. Number 6 is an either or. Which is the longer river? Is it A, the Amazon, or B, the Mississippi? So it's 50-50 toss up there. Question number 7. This is which enormous city, the capital of Mexico? Question number 8. If a person from Cumbria is a Cumbrian, and a person from London is a Londoner, what is a person from the Scottish city of Dundee called? Question number 9. Corpus Christi is a coastal city in which American state? And finally for this round, question number 10. Do more fully independent countries currently use the rupee or the krona as their currency? And that includes the derivatives, i.e. the rupiah or the krona, etc. So that's geography. That's the end of those 10 questions. How did you find them? Did you find them fairly straightforward? We tried to make the questions as challenging, as entertaining as we possibly can. It's pointless asking a quiz where it's so difficult that the only person who knows the answers is the person stating the questions, and that's no fun. We want people to actually be challenged, but have the opportunity to actually answer the questions, because the clues are usually in the question. Okay, so that's what we want, and that's what we demand. So let's move on to the trivia teaser. Clue 3, if you didn't manage to work out what the answers were to clues 1 and 2, well, try clue 3. If you manage to actually get that clue, you'll get here at this point 8 points. Let's go through the questions. Although usually cooked, I can also be eaten raw. I am high in vitamins and minerals, particularly potassium. I contain plenty of antioxidants. I don't often feature in modern Italian cooking. In fact, Italians often feed me to pigs, particularly those bred to make Parma ham. I consist of 80% water, 5% sugar, 5% dietary fiber, and 1% protein. Here, look, I've just sprouted. So look at that image there on the bottom left of the clue to the trivia teaser. Does that assist you in relation to identifying the thing that we're talking about? And if it does, you'll be able to score the requisite points. So I'm going to leave it up. Well, I've just actually switched back to me. because I want people to actually know that I'm here presenting it live to you. Hopefully you're enjoying the quiz. I can see from the comments that people are enjoying the standard of the quiz, which is really, really good. We're always looking to improve. I'm looking to improve as a presenter. Presenting live is not easy. You can make mistakes. As I say, there can be technical hitches. Even 3 weeks ago when we tried to actually launch the quiz, there was an almighty glitch, but we managed to actually iron it out, and here we are now bringing you the quiz. So let's now move swiftly on to the answers so far as geography is concerned. Let's go for the answers now. Question number one, I asked you, vendredi is the Friday in which language? And that's obviously French, as you can see there. Youpi, c'est vendredi, as Homer Simpson would say in his vernacular French. Question number two, what is this country? The largest to lie wholly within Europe. Now, obviously, Russia obviously is the largest country in the world and obviously the largest country in Europe, but it lies partly in Europe and partly in Asia. We're looking for the largest country which is wholly within Europe, and that is the Ukraine. Which, as I say, on its southeastern border, is situated on the Black Sea. The capital is Kiev, which sits on the river Dnieper. Question number two, if you drilled a hole from Bogota directly through the center of the earth, which other capital city would pop out nearest? Would it be A, Copenhagen, B, Jakarta, or C, Tunis? And that is Jakarta, which, as you know, is the capital of Indonesia, founded in 1527, and it literally means victory in its local native language. Bogota, as you know, is the capital of Colombia, which is the northernmost northernmost country on the South American mainland. Number four, which motorway is highlighted here in darker blue? That is obviously the M6, which actually begins on junction 19 on the M1, goes all the way through Carlisle, as in fact Britain's longest motorway. Number four, in which landlocked country of 10.6 million people is the historic Budvar brewery? That is in the Czech Republic, or Czechia, as it's now commonly referred to by the local inhabitants. So the Czech Republic, which came into existence on the 1st of January 1993, when the old state of Czechoslovakia dissolved peacefully in the so-called Velvet Revolution, where you had the Czech Republic, or Czechia, on one side, and Slovakia on the other. Number three, which is a longer river, is it the Amazon or the Mississippi? And it's obviously the Amazon, the second longest versus the fourth longest river in the world. The Amazon actually starts its origins in Peru and runs right across Brazil, right to the Atlantic Oceans, and you can see there highlighted in purple. Number four, this is which enormous city, the capital of Mexico? That's obviously Mexico City, as you can see, founded, it was called Tenochtitlan initially until Hernan Cortez conquered Mexico City, as it's now known, in 1520. Apparently, it's one of the largest capital cities in terms of population in the world, and apparently it's also it sinks, I think, 1/4 of an inch every single year. Question number 8, if a person from Cumbria is a Cumbrian and a person from London is a Londoner, what is a person from the Scottish city of Dundee called? And you can see there that is a statue of the great Desperate Dan from Dandy, because Dandy and Beano actually was published initially in the late 30s in Dundee. But if you are Dundee, you are called a Dundonian. A Dundonian. Another wonderful thing about Dundee, the Dundee cake, which obviously has almonds on top as well, and the two football cities, United and Dundee itself. Question number 9, Corpus Christi, which literally translates as the body of Christ, is a coastal city in which American state? And that is in Texas. You can see there where Corpus Christi is there. on the to the west of the Gulf of Mexico. And finally, do more fully independent countries use either the rupee or the krona as their currency? And they actually use the rupee. It's 8 against 5 in terms of the denomination. So that's it. That's the end of round 3. How did we find it? Did you enjoy it? I thought that was a fairly challenging round. If you played your Joker, that's fantastic. That's great. And let's now move swiftly on to round number 4, which is a yay or nay round, or a true or false round. It's either yes or no. And let's move swiftly on. Question number 1. Do arteries carry blood towards the heart? It's either yes or no. So yay or nay, yes, no, or Y or N, whatever you do, just simply write your choice. It's a 50-50. Number 2, Arnold Schwarzenegger is older than Sylvester Stallone. Yes or no? Number 3, does Will Dalton make those items which you see there in the image? Number 4. Here we are. Now, look at this footage. Now, is this a footage from the city of Sydney? Yes or no? Have you ever been to the Southern Hemisphere? If you have, you may be able to... have you ever been to Sydney? Is that a famous landmark this footage is traversing? If it is, you either answer yes or no. Number 5. Does China use the Gregorian calendar system as used by most Western countries? Is that yes or no? Question number 6. Has a film in the Star Wars franchise ever won an Academy Award? Is that yes or no? Number 7. Is the diameter of a tennis ball less than 80 millimeters? Yes or no? Number 8. Is a Rambouillet a breed of sheep, as you can see there? Image number 9, or question number 9. Do currants, raisins and sultanas all originate from a grapevine? And question number 10. Is it compulsory to wear a helmet while cycling on public roads in the UK? Right, so that's the end of those questions. How did you find them? It's either yes or no. Either you know the answers or you don't. But it's 50-50. We like to have 50-50 questions because sometimes when you get some really good top quizzes who play in all manner of quizzes, and sometimes it's really good to have a great leveler in terms of a 50-50. And that's a very good way, I think, of slowing the express train that is the ultimate quizzer in his or her tracks. Okay, so let's now turn our attention to clue 4 of the trivial teasers. This is another opportunity, if you didn't grab it in the first three clues, to actually now work out what the possible thing we are talking about. And if you do manage to actually get it on this set of clues, you will score 6 points. So let's look at the clue. I feature in the lyrics to the songs Humpty Dumpty by the Dubliners and Old Pigweed by Mark Knopfler. I taste best when purchased straight after the first frost of the year. I look like this if I left to go to seed. I'm troubled by various viruses and fungal diseases, the most serious of which tends to be canker. So I'm going to leave that up for a little bit. So these are not the easiest clues in the world, to be fair. I don't think so, but some people may do. So look at the Humpty Dumpty by the Dubliners, Old Pigweed by Mark Knopfler. Does that help you in relation to the thing we're talking about? Looking at that image at the bottom left-hand side of the clue, does that assist you in relation to the thing we want you to identify? If you manage to actually work out what the clue is, at this juncture, you will score 6 points. If you don't know, just have a guess. Have a guess. Nothing wrong with having a guess. So let's now move swiftly on to round number 4, answers, yay or nay. Let's look at the answers in relation to this particular round. Question number 1 asks you, do arteries carry blood towards the heart? Is that yes or no? The answer is no. Veins do. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. And you can see there the actual diagram in relation to the various functions of veins and arteries. Question number 2. Arnold Schwarzenegger is older than Sylvester Stallone. Is that yes or no? No. Arnold was born in 1947. Sylvester Stallone born a year earlier, in 1946. Question number 3. Does Royal Doulton make these items? Yes or no? The answer is yes. The classic Bunnykins range of Chinaware was first made, as you can see, in 1934. So look at this image again. Number 4. Is this footage from the city of Sydney? No. It's actually Auckland Harbour Bridge. So Auckland in New Zealand on the North Harbour. Auckland is a wonderful, wonderful city. I'm looking forward to going back there again. I've been to New Zealand twice, been to Australia loads of times as well for work. And it's just a wonderful place to be in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm very, very lucky and very, very fortunate. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about you answering these next questions. And let's look at question number 5. Does China use a Gregorian calendar system as used by most Western countries? And the answer is yes, although they still relate some holidays to the actual Chinese calendar, but China does use the Gregorian calendar, which first came into existence by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582, and Britain itself didn't adopt the Gregorian calendar until 1752. We had to lose 11 days from September the 3rd, I think, to September the 14th, and there were riots when there was that switch of the loss of 11 days. Number 6, has a film in the Star Wars franchise ever won an Academy Award? The answer's got to be yes. There were 8 films together, were nominated for 32 Oscars, and they won 7 in total. And you can see there C-3PO. I think I asked a question about C-3PO. He was the first character ever to speak in a Star Wars film in 1977. Played by I'm not sure. Anthony Daniels, I think, played him. I think it was. If I'm wrong, simply send me a comment to correct me. Question number 7, is the diameter of a tennis ball less than 18 millimeters? The answer is yes, it is. It's 67 millimeters to be precise. Who spends time measuring a tennis ball? But obviously there are regulation standards in relation to various balls, but it's got to be 67 millimeters in diameter. Question number 8, is that Rambouillet a breed of sheep? And the answer is yes. The most common breed can be found in the United States. Question number 9. I think this is fairly straightforward. Do currants, raisins, and sultanas all originate from a grapevine? Well, of course they do, because they're all varieties of dried grape, aren't they? Of course they are. And the final question, question number 10. Is it compulsory to wear a helmet while cycling on the public roads in the United Kingdom? No, it's not. I think it should be, really, to be fair, but no, you don't have to. When I go riding on a bike, I always make sure I wear a helmet. Makes great sense, I think. So that's the end of that particular round. Yay or nay? How did you find that? Did you find that fairly challenging? You find it fairly straightforward? Looking at my producer, how many did you get? 5. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay. Let's now move on to the wipeout round. How does the wipeout round play out? As you can see, let's go back. Sorry about that. The wipeout round. As you can see there, the aim is to create an unbroken string of correct answers. Once you get one wrong, you stop scoring points. Dead certs at the top, wild hunches at the bottom. So that's how it works. So let's look at the question for tonight's wipeout. Name either the last 10 men or the last 10 women to have won a Wimbledon singles title. So there's a possible of 20 answers there, but only multiple winners count once. So you might be going back to the 1990s to actually get your answers. So if, for example, you may have a tennis player who's won it more than once, he will only count, or she will only count as one particular answer. Okay, so we're going to give you some time to actually look at that. Tennis, as I say, sadly, wasn't able to be played due to the coronavirus pandemic. Wimbledon, as I say, the oldest of the Grand Slam titles, first started in 1877 when Spencer Gore won. And people don't realise the term lawn tennis derived from a game called Slavistike, which is a Greek term developed by a person called Major or Colonel Wingfield. What else can I tell you about tennis? There are 4 major Grand Slam titles. The first, which is always played, is the Australian Open. It used to actually be played in December, but they moved it to January. Then you've got, which is played on hard court surfaces. Then you've got the French, which is next in time. That's always played on clay in the Roland Garros Stadium. The Australian Open is played in the Rod Laver Stadium, named after the brilliant Rod Laver, who is the only man to have completed the Grand Slam twice, not only as an amateur in 1962, but when the game turned professional in 1968, he also completed in 1969, I think he did it. He completed the Grand Slam again. They called him the Roehampton Rocket. Rod Laver, brilliant tennis player. Then you've obviously got Wimbledon, which is played late June, early July, and the final one to be played is the American or the US Open, played in the Arthur Ashe and the Billie Jean King Stadium in is it Flushing Meadows in New York? I think it is. But that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for here now is for you to look at the last 10 or last men or women who have won the Wimbledon singles title. Are you a big tennis fan? Actually, they've been doing reruns of Wimbledon on the BBC to actually make up for the loss of the Wimbledon coverage this year. Did you watch any of those programs? That will then help you, hopefully, to have watched some of the wonderful Wimbledon singles tennis champions, men or women, and we're looking for the last 10 of either gender. But remember, multiple winners do not only count as one particular person. So rabbit it on and on and on to give you time to actually go through those answers. Remember, put your strongest answers first. The dead certs, make sure you put them first. And the not so dead certs, the wild hunches, the wild guesses, just put those towards the end, because the minute you get a wrong answer, you will be wiped out for that particular round. Okay, so let's see what the answers are. Hopefully you'd have found it fairly straightforward. Let's go to the answers and let's see. Either men or women, as you can see there, the last 10. Simona Halep, who beat Serena Williams last year. Angelique Kerber, the German. I think Simona Halep is Romanian. Gabi Muguruza, I think she also beat Serena Williams. Serena Williams herself. Petra Kvitova from Czechia. Marion Bartoli, who actually retired famously after winning Wimbledon. Then you've got Venus Williams, Maria Sharapova, who won at the age of 17 in 2004, and Lindsay Davenport, won in 1999. So the reason why we've gone back to 1999 here is because obviously players like Williams, Venus, the Williams sisters, Kvitova, have won it more than once. And there are the men there, Novak Djokovic, who won that epic final against Roger Federer last year. Roger Federer himself, who won it in 2003. Roger Federer, as you know, is currently the all-time leading Grand Slam male-winning tennis player with 20 victories. Then you got the brilliantly gifted Andy Murray, who finally broke the 75-year hoodoo when he won in 2013, repeated that feat in 2016. Rafael Nadal, the brilliant left-hander who won it in 2008. Leighton Hewitt won it in 2002. And who can forget the wild card that is Goran Ivanisevic, who won it in 2001 after beating Tim Henman. Remember that three-day rain-delayed semi-final? Pistol Pete Sampras won it 7 times. Richard Krajicek, remember Richard Krajicek? He won it in 1996, interrupting the run by Pete Sampras, who just kept on winning. Andre Agassi, who won in 1992, and Michael Stich, the German, who won in 1991. So if you got any of those answers correct, make sure that the minute you got one wrong answer, then obviously you'd be wiped out. Hopefully there is somebody who would have got all 20 correct, and if you did, more power to your elbow. So that was the wipeout round. Hopefully that I gave you or brought you some time to actually go through the answers with my sort of attempt to waffle in relation to my knowledge of tennis throughout the ages. My favourite tennis player of all time was Bjorn Borg. He was just absolutely brilliant. Let's now move to round number 5. Round number 5, which is food and drink. If you like this particular round, this is your opportunity now to actually play your joker. And let's go swiftly on to question number 1. Question number 1. What spice is harvested from the stigma and styles of a crocus flower? Question number 2. These biscuits are named after which kid's toy? Does the shape of the biscuits help you in relation to what kid's toy we're talking about? If it does, you'll know the answer. Question number 3. Lynchburg lemonade is a cocktail whose major ingredients is what brand of whiskey? Question number 4. What variety of quick bread is this that has sodium bicarbonate used as a leavening agent instead of the traditional yeast? Number 5. This is an extreme close-up. What is it? So look at it. Oh, it looks actually hideous looking at it close up. But what is it? Number 6. What Italian dish is known by the name fettuccine al burro? Hopefully my Italian pronunciation was up to speed there, but look at the image there. What Italian dish are we talking about? Number 7. Autumn King, Chantenay, and Nantes are types of what fruit or vegetable? Question number 8. This is the distinctive top to a bottle of what? Something you recognize? Question number 9. Caleb Bradham founded what soft drink company? And finally, question number 10. What is pitaya? Is it A, B, or C? So that was the end of the food and drink round. How did you find it? Found it fairly straightforward. People like food and drink. People can't survive without food and drink. But if this is one of your favourite rounds, you play your joker, then hopefully you'd have got double points. Okay, let's go to the 5th clue in the Trivial Teaser conundrum. If you haven't managed to actually answer it after the first 4 clues which are given to you, here's another opportunity to look at a relatively easier clue which may lead you, hopefully, to the correct answer. And if it does, you'll be able to score 5 points. So you can see there are 3 distinct images at the bottom of the clue. Let's read the clue. Handling my stems and foliage can cause skin rashes as my sap is toxic and leaves a chemical burn similar to that of poison ivy. I'm usually the first thing to come out of the ground after a New England winter. Because I am so hard, I can last for over a month in the fridge. I feature in all of these creations. So have a look at those creations there. Have a look at the clues in relation to, I must say, the question writers have been a bit fiendish this particular week because I still haven't a clue in relation to what we're talking about here. Hopefully you will, the people taking part in the quiz, and if you manage to actually work it out from these sets of clues, you will score 5 points. Okay, so let's move swiftly on now to the answers, food and drink. Question number 1, which spice is harvested from the stigma and styles of a crocus flower? And that is saffron. You know, one time saffron is one of the most expensive spices in the world. It really is. Number 2, these biscuits are named after which kid's toy? I think the clue is in relation to its shape and construction. That is a yo-yo, which means come in its native language, where it was created somewhere in Southeast Asia. Yo-yo. Number 3, a Lynchburg lemonade is a cocktail whose major ingredient is what brand of whiskey? And that is Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels, the old Tennessee whiskey. Question 4, what variety of quick bread is this? That has sodium bicarbonate as a leavening agent instead of the traditional yeast. I think the clue is in the construction of the question. It can only be soda bread. Soda bread. As you can see, it's chiefly made in the Republic of Ireland. Number 6, extreme close-up. What is this? That is an avocado. Did you manage to work that out? If you did, that's a fantastic get. Avocado, as I say, is a fruit, not a vegetable, which has its origins on the South American continent or the Latin American continent. Question number 9. What Italian dish is known by the name fettuccine al burro? And that is fettuccine Alfredo, invented by Alfredo Delilio at his restaurant. Question number 7. Autumn King, Chantenay, and Nantes are types of what fruit or vegetable? And they are carrots. Yes, they're carrots. Carrots is the correct answer there. Question number 8. This is the distinctive top of a bottle of what? If you're a person who likes a tipple, then you'll be able to work that out, because that is Frangelico liqueur. Question number 9. Caleb Bradnam founded what soft drinks company? And that's Pepsi Cola. John Pemberton founded Coca-Cola in the 1880s, but Caleb Bradham founded, it was called originally Brad's Drink, but it was changed in 1898. He discovered it. He was a former chemist, and as I say, Pepsi is one of the worldwide soft drink brands, which is iconic. What is a pitaya? Is it A, B, or C? And that is B. I didn't know that, but it's also known as the dragon fruit. A was a jackfruit, and C was a granadilla. Granadilla. Okay, so, yep, that's it. That was the end of food and drink. How did you find that? We've only got 2 more rounds to go, 2 more opportunities to play your Joker, 2 more opportunities, if you haven't got it already, to actually work out the trivial teaser. But the most important thing is that I hope you're having fun. I hope you're enjoying the quiz so far. And send us your comments to tell us otherwise. If you're not, then we look and aim to improve to make sure that we're entertaining you. Because without you taking part, this quiz, the Smarty Pantz Trivia Quiz, simply wouldn't exist. So let's move on to potluck round 6. General knowledge type of round. Let's see how we get on. Question number 1. Who is caught in the paparazzi sites here? Question number 2. Question number 2. Seen here in happier times. This singer dated whom until they became 2002's most spectacular breakup? Question number 3. Do you recognize that person? Well, the question is, who am I? Question number 4. What is the main ingredient in a pad thai? Question number 5. Who am I? The first player to have earned more than $1 million in prize money in a single season in my chosen sport. Question number 6. As you know, today is the 12th of July, so we always like to set a question in relation to what happened on this particular day, and this is the question we're asking today. And here's the question. Which band, who took their name from a track on a Muddy Waters LP, played their first gig on this day, the 12th of July, in 1962 at the Marquee Club in London? Question number 7. What is 5 cubed? Question number 8. Algeria upset with Germany at which year's FIFA World Cup? Question number 9. Chutney, pickle and relish are all either stored or cooked in which liquid? And finally, for this round, question number 10. Is this omnivore A, an anole or anole, B, a civet, or C, a mink? So that's the end of the potluck round, or the general knowledge round, as we like to call it. A mixed bag there. As I say, how did we get on? Hopefully you got on fairly well. So let's go through the final attempt now. As we're getting, well, it's not the final attempt actually, but it's getting easier and easier, hopefully. The trivial teaser. Clue number 6. Let's have a look at the clue here. And hopefully the image you can see there at the bottom left-hand screen of the teaser will assist you. Well, let's look at the question. My popularity in North America faded by the mid-19th century as the potato became widely accepted as a main source of starch. I was mentioned in vulgar terms in the 2020 film Ted, as voiced by Seth MacFarlane. A popular ingredient in winter casseroles and soups, or accompanying a Sunday roast, I am often attacked by the carrot fly and other insects. So have a look at that image there. Does that help you identify what foodstuff, it obviously must be a foodstuff we're talking about in relation to the clue. And if you do, you'll manage to actually score 4 points. As I say, the clues are not easy this week. They are fairly challenging. I think so anyway. But it's not about me, but it's about how you answer the questions. And let's now turn our attention to the answers so far as round 6 is concerned and potluck. Who's this caught in the paparazzi site here? I accept 2 answers. The Duchess of Cornwall or Camilla Parker Bowles, the wife of the heir to the throne. So if you wrote to the Duchess of Cornwall, that's an equally acceptable answer. Question number 2. Seen here in happier times, Britney Spears dated whom until they became 2002's most spectacular breakup? That is the former lead singer of NSYNC, who played Sean Parker in The Social Network, directed by David Fincher. That is Justin Timberlake. I think he's married to Jessica Biel now. Number 3, who am I? He celebrated his 35th birthday on the 30th of June. That can only be the Baltimore Bullet, the multi-Olympic champion, winner of the most gold medals in one single game, 8. In, I believe it was, Beijing, Michael Phelps. Number 4, what is the main ingredient in a pad thai? That is noodles or rice. I love Vietnamese. No, it's not. Is it Vietnamese? I think it is. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm obviously extemporizing here, thinking off the top of my head, doing my level best to actually delve into the depths of my sort of knowledge. So if I am wrong, then just put me right in the comments. I don't mind, because I'm learning that way, ain't I? Of course I am. Number 5, who am I? The first player to have earned more than $1 million in prize money in a single season in my chosen sport. I talked about him earlier. That is my hero, Bjorn Borg, the 5-time winner of Wimbledon from 76 to 80. He won 6 French Open titles in a row, and he would always move from clay to grass and win the first 2 majors. Well, not the first 2 majors, the second and third majors. But whenever he went on to the US Open, he'd always get beaten in the final either by Jimmy Connors or John McEnroe. And although people talk about various games, the greatest games of all time, my greatest game of all time was the US Open final in 1980 between Borg and McEnroe, where Borg was 2 sets of love down, came back to 2-all, was 4 sets of love down, came back to 4-all, and agonizingly lost 6-4 in the final set. If you ever see a video of that game, the match you saw last year between Djokovic and Federer pales into significance. That, for me, is the best tennis tournament final I've ever seen. Today is July the 12th, and on this day in 1962, which band took their name from a track on a Muddy Waters LP, and they played their first gig on this day in 1962 at the Marquee Club, and that is the Rolling Stones, as you can see there, their original lineup. Ronnie Wood, who's not in there, but is obviously a member of Rolling Stones now, and Charlie Watts. They were born on the 1st of June and the 2nd of June, respectively. So me and Charlie Watts actually share the same birth date. We're not the same age, but the same birth date. And another interesting fact about Mick Jagger, his real name is Philip. I think, Philip Jagger. Sorry, Mick, I didn't mean to actually cramp your star there, but it is. What is 5 cubed? That's 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. That's what 5 cubed is. Number 6, Algeria upset West Germany at which year's FIFA World Cup? That was in 1982 when Algeria famously beat West Germany. But then the Germans conspired with the Austrians to play out a very tame draw which knocked out Algeria. And West Germany actually went on to reach the final that year where they were beaten 3-1 by the victorious Italians. Question number 9, chutney, pickle and relish are all either stored or cooked in which liquid? And that is vinegar, or acetic acid, as it's normally known. I hate cucumbers. Oh, horrible. Ugh. Hate it. And question number 10, is this omnivore an anole or anole, civet or a mink? It is a civet, or an African palm civet. Okay, that's what that is. So that's the end of that particular round. How do we find round 6 so far as the potluck? Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Let's now move our attention to the penultimate round, which is on Jack and Jill. You know, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down, broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. But that's not about that. Let's now move swiftly on to question number 1. Meaning a male servant of royalty, a Jack was originally known in the UK by what name? Question number 2. Who starred in Friends as Rachel's competitive younger sister, Jill? You used to watch Friends? You used to watch the wonderfully gifted Jennifer Aniston. Who was her annoying competitive younger sister? Or who played her? Question number 3. I spy with my little eye. Which former world champion is this who died in 2014? Question number 4. Who said, and I quote, I'm so bitter against God, I feel more cruelly every day what I've lost. I always would have rather lost my life than lost Jack. That quote was said in 1964 by who? Question number 5. This was a poster for which film? Do you remember that film? What poster is that? Question number 6. Founded by Jack Ma, the e-commerce mega website Alibaba is from which country? Question number 7. Considered one of the greatest batsmen in Test cricket history. Who am I? The leading run scorer and century maker in first-class cricket with 61,760 runs and 199 centuries. Who is that? Question number 8. Jill Foster Abbott is the longest running character from which soap opera, having debuted on the first episode in 1973. Question number 9. Just Slip Out the Back, Jack is a lyric from which song? And finally, for this round, question number 10. Okay, here we go. I started at the beginning talking about the nursery rhyme. Jack and Jill dates back to which century? Is it the 14th, 16th, or 18th century? All right, so that's the end of that round. Jack and Jill, which rhyme in slang for ill. How do we get on in relation to that? Let's find out soon, but let's turn our attention to the trivial teaser, which is becoming easier and easier, and you can see there. Does that help you in relation to the food stuff what we're talking about? Let's look at the trivial teaser in some detail. Scientifically classified as Pastinaca sativa, I'm a root vegetable that is closely related to both carrots and parsley. I'm a biennial plant, but I am usually grown as an annual. So I think the penny must have dropped now. Hopefully would have done. Let's look at that. Pastinaca sativa. That's the scientifically classified name. Even that's hard, I think, but it's not what I think, it's what you think in relation to trying to solve these fiendishly difficult trivial teasers for this week. So let's now move to the answers. Jack and Jill. Meaning a male servant of royalty, a Jack was originally known in the UK by what? Obviously as a knave. I think we asked a question last week in relation to the Rouen Paton, which was the playing cards in France developed in the 15th century. Number 2, who guest starred in Friends as Rachel's competitive younger sister Jill? An annoying stone. So that was Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon. Number 3, I Spy, My Little Lie. Which former world champion who died in 2014? I'll be mightily impressed if anybody gets this. But people may get this, and if you do, all power to you. But that is the brilliant Sir Jack Brabham. Jack Brabham. 3 times Formula One world champion. I must admit, I would have known that was him. But the Brabham car obviously was named after Sir Jack. Number 4, who said, and I quote, I'm so bitter against God, I feel more cruelly every day that what I've lost. I would have rather lost my life than have lost Jack in 1964. Who said that? The Jack in question we're talking about is Jack or John Kennedy, and his wife who said it was Jackie Kennedy or Jackie Bouvier. She was known by her maiden name, married John Kennedy in 1953 and was the American First Lady from 1961 until the assassination of John Kennedy on the 22nd of November 1963. She then went on to marry, as you know, Aristotle Onassis in 1968, I believe, and she died sadly in 1994. This was a poster for which film? That is Jack the Giant Slayer. Jack the Giant Slayer. Obviously based on the old Jack and the Beanstalk story. But Jack the Giant Slayer is the correct answer there. Number 5, founded by Jack Ma, the e-commerce mega website Alibaba is from which country? And that's obviously China, as you can see there. Alibaba.com. Number 6, considered one of the greatest batsmen in Test cricket history. Who am I? The leading run scorer and century maker in first-class cricket with 61,760 runs and 199 centuries. That is Sir Jack Hobbs. Jack Hobbs, who's so great. I think he was offered the throne of Albania. Was it him? I think it was him. Might be getting it wrong. I think it was him. question number 8. Jill Foster Abbott is a long-running character from which soap opera, having debuted on the first episode in 1973. That is The Young and Restless. Never heard of that. But I couldn't even tell you what country that's from, actually. Probably somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere. Number 9, Just Slip Out the Jack Back. Don't Need to Be Coy Roy. Is a lyric from which song? That is 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by the brilliant Paul Simon. And number 10, the nursery rhyme Jack and Jill dates back to which century? Is it the 14th, 16th or 18th? That is the 18th century there. 1765 around, to be precise. So that's that. How do we find the Jack and Jill round? How are we finding the quiz generally? Please let us know. Don't put your comments in the answer sheets. Try and keep your comments clean. I think I should have mentioned that from the outset. And I think we said we do have people moderating this quiz. So if you do say anything inappropriate or offensive, you will be incurring the wrath of the Smarty Pantz wipeout, and you'll simply be barred from taking part. And we don't want those type of people taking part in quizzes anyway, because you're spoiling it for everybody else. Okay, so let's move on to round number 8 now. The final round is on art and literature. Let's move swiftly on to question number 1. Who is toasting his success here? Do you recognize that man? Number 2, what city links the setting of the Shakespearean plays Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, and Titus Andronicus? Question number 3, what comes after new moon but before breaking dawn? So that's obviously a trilogy of books, so which one are we talking about? Question number 4. This is the J. Paul Getty Museum, which lies in which American city? So that's an aerial shot there. Do you know what city the museum lies in? Question number 4. What number has been removed from the cover of this book? Question number 6. C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was set during which war? Question number 7. If a painter's canvas is considered portrait, if it is taller than it is wide, how would you describe a canvas that is wider than it is tall? Should get that one. Question number 7. A Grand Night for Singing was a Broadway musical review showcasing which duo? Not long to go now. Question number 8. Question number 8. This is the opening line of which 1979 novel? Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. And the final question for tonight's quiz is this. Question number 10. This is a 1502 watercolour by A. Albrecht Dürer, B. Donatello, or C. Marc Chagall. So that's the end of the questions so far as art and literature is concerned. How do we find them? before we actually go to the answers, we are going to actually give you one last chance, the last chance now to see if you can solve the trivia teaser. And here it is, clue 8, the final clue. You can get 1 point. There it is. That's the image. But let's look at the clue. I look very similar to a carrot, but my long tuberous root is cream coloured, not orange. Many people falsely believe that my name is a portmanteau of parsley and turnip. So that's the final clue you're going to get. The image really should give it away. As I said, the questions do get progressively easier in the trivia teaser. But if you didn't manage to actually work it out from the previous 7 clues, hopefully clue 8 with that image will finally give you the correct answer. If it does, you will only sadly score 1 point. So let's look at the answers to art and literature. But before we do that, that's what it is, a parsnip. A portmanteau word is 2 words which are put together to form one new word, just in case people are asking what a portmanteau word is. And as you can see there, Gaz and my parsnip, that was the autobiography of Geordie Shaw's The Ultimate Lad. Yeah. Okay, so let's go through the answers now to the final round of art and literature. Who is toasting success here? That is Salman Rushdie, who won the 1981 Booker Prize for Midnight's Children and got into a lot of trouble in 1988-9 when he wrote the Satanic Verses and was issued with a fatwa or death sentence by the then Ayatollah Khomeini, who died sadly before it was actually carried out. He was in hiding for a long time. And I think he won the Best of Booker with Midnight's Children, voted as the best of all the Booker Prize winners of years gone by. Salman Rushdie. One day, hopefully, he'll win the Nobel Prize, because I think his writing, mainly sort of magical realism, is thoroughly deserving of such an ultimate accolade. Question number 2. What city links the setting of the Shakespearean plays Coriolanus, Julius Caesar and Titus Andronicus? It can only be Rome, of course. But only Titus Andronicus was set entirely in the city of Rome. Number 3. What comes after new moon but before breaking dawn? And that is the eclipse, part of the Twilight series. As you can see there, written by the wonderfully gifted writer Stephanie Meyer. Number 4, this is the J. Paul Getty Museum, which lies in which American city? And that is obviously in the city of Los Angeles, in the state of California. I love Los Angeles. If I could live in one city in the entire world, apart from Rio and London, which I do live, Los Angeles would definitely be one of my choices. It's just absolutely lovely. Question number 5. What number has been removed from this cover of this book? That is Asian Mole 13 3/4. 13 3/4. Number 4. C.S. Lewis's The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe was set during which war? That was World War II. It was set in. Just in case people were wondering what C.S. Lewis stands for, Clive Staples Lewis. Question number 7. If a painter's canvas is considered a portrait, if it is taller than it is wide, how would you describe a canvas that is wider than it is tall? It could only be, of course, a landscape. A landscape. Question number 8. A Grand Night for Singing was a Broadway musical review showcasing which duo? And that is Rodgers and Hammerstein. That wonderfully collaborative partnership was responsible for a whole host of wonderful musicals, South Pacific being one of them. Number 9, this is the opening line of which novel? Far out from the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. That could only be The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I think the 25th of May is known as Towel Day which celebrates everything that is Douglas Adams. And the final question for tonight is Young Hair by Albert Dürer, Donatello, or Marc Chagall. Albert Dürer of the late 15th and 16th century. It couldn't have been Marc Chagall because he was born in the late 1880s and was a 20th century artist. So that's the end of the quiz. If you've managed to actually come to a tiebreak because you're playing against somebody, you've got a dead-end score, let's go to a way in which we will settle any tiebreak. And the nearest answer will win. So seen here, in what year was the first issue of Sports Illustrated published? I'll give you 10 seconds starting from now. Just write a year. The person which is nearest to the answer will win. You've got 5 seconds there. 4, 3, 2, 1. And the correct answer is 1954. 1954 is the year in which Sports Illustrated was published. So that's that. That's the end of the quiz. Hopefully you'd have found it enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed presenting it to you. As I say, if you didn't, then I do apologise. We'll try to actually improve on the product. That's the whole purpose of quizzes, to make it entertaining and enjoyable, but ultimately fun, and you actually learn. And if you think I'm rabbiting on too much, sometimes I've got to talk on because we don't want to leave dead air, especially during a wipeout round. People might think I've nodded off and gone to sleep. So that's one of the reasons I keep on talking. And obviously to try and give as much information in relation to the answers behind the questions. So hopefully you would have found it enjoyable. Hopefully you would have found it entertaining. And if you did, then I look forward to seeing you next week for another edition of this Smarty Pantz Trivia Quiz. And if you are so desperate that you can't wait, then there's always the Sean Wallace Facebook quiz, which is on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And if you're even more desperate for quizzes, then you can always go to our Smarty Pantz Facebook page to download free quizzes. Yes, free quizzes, which are for everybody, family, friends, whole communities, whole countries, whole universes can play our quiz. I'm Sean Wallace. I've been the host. Stay safe and stay well, and see you next week.